First of all, thank you very much for making the time and to come over here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Let me see, as a way of quick introduction, I'll give you already a little bit. You have a PhD EE from Purdue, Stanford GSP in interpersonal dynamics for high performance executives, among many achievements that you have had. The first thing I want to ask you is why electrical engineering? What or who motivated you and influenced you to become an engineer?
Actually, growing up, I really loved physics and math, but I also liked art and making things. And I think, my first choice, I wanted to be a physicist, but when it came to choosing a major, I was being more practical about it. And I'm like, okay, what can I choose that is at the intersection of all these things that I love, but also maybe has a path to immigrating to US, for example, finding a job, and all those other reasons came to play as well.
So you were born and raised in Iran, right?
Yes.
And did you attend any university in Iran?
Yes.
Which one?
Sharif.
Okay, and you know what the next question is? You've been here. What was your concours rating?
I think 20 or 22.
You think 20? Okay, that's very impressive. Thank you. Who went to Sharif here? Raise your hands. Oh, come on. There's more than that. Okay. And I raised my hand for about a week. That's it. And you studied electrical engineering in Sharif?
Yes.
And after that, you went to Purdue?
Yeah.
Was there any reason you went to Purdue among like other colleges like Stanford?
So during my undergrad in Iran, I took a class in image processing. I think it was a master's class, and I fell in love with image processing. It was very visual, but had this mathematical elements. So Purdue had one of the strongest program in image processing, lots of professors. So when I applied, I got full funding for 4 years, fellowship. So that was part of the decision.
That was the draw to Purdue.
Yeah.
That's very legitimate. You worked at Sony, Apple, Microsoft, and a few other places, and you're currently at Dolby. Tell us what excites you about your position at Dolby.
So I lead an organization called Big Idea Innovations, and it's trying to diversify Dolby's portfolio through creating new products, new experiences, new technologies. So we have a lot of different projects in many different fields, so that creativity part of it is very attractive to me, where we can, we're like, what is the unthinkable that you can think about and create for people in the future? So that's the part that is the most attractive part.
And there was a meeting last week. There was a big bash at Dolby. Mm-hmm. Tell us, what was that about? And what did you do? What did you present?
We had a tech summit where they brought hundreds of people from across the world into our San Francisco office, which is our headquarters. And it was all about AI and data. So the theme was data at Dolby. And there were many talks from engineering teams, research teams, ongoing products that Dolby has, but we also wanted to create like excitement about future and what it could be. So we created different concepts, more futuristic concepts around, what it could be, to just provoke thoughts across different things.
Well, it has to be more than that. A company hires you from, what was the previous company you were in? You were at Apple and then Microsoft?
Microsoft, yeah.
So they hire you out of Microsoft and they give you this team to innovate.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something to it. forgive my ignorance, but Dolby to me is just a little sign on the stereo that gives you fancy sound. And also in the theater, you get this multiple 16 bands, you know, and all that. Tell me, why is Dolby getting into AI, and what can you do with those?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the idea of innovation, go beyond the box, right?
Yeah,
Out of the
actually,
box.
a lot of people don't know about
So
Dolby's
tell us.
current business. Almost any device you use for entertainment, from cell phone, TVs, speakers, headphones, and cinemas, has Dolby technology, some kind of Dolby technology in it. We work with a ton of movie studios, musicians and music studios. We work with device manufacturers. We work with services, broadcast companies, all the OTTs like Netflix and Amazons of the world. And so we're kind of in the, you know, we have built this ecosystem that goes from the content creator, that director, and that musician all the way to the device. So that's why we have a very strong ecosystem. We have a really good relationship with creators and the movie studios. So we're very well positioned to innovate in the entertainment industry.
Let me translate what I'm hearing. So you have quite a few patents, some technology has, you know, and you do have a lot of sweet license deals that all these companies, all these media companies have to use and pay you. And you have this loads of money that you would like to use to create the next thing that is going to create more money for the company. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the ideas, some of the ideas that came to you or to the team? I'm sure you've started. Something you can share with us. Or if you want to tell us some of the secrets we won't tell.
I mean, I can't share the specific ideas, but I mean, all of you know generative AI has been showing really interesting results for movies, well, videos, text, images. That's gonna revolutionize movie industry sooner or later. So we want to be there when it happens. So we're, you know, working on a bunch of things around how can we make movie making more efficient, but also how to create experiences that never existed before and you couldn't imagine before. So part of it is all about that. We also want to get into devices we haven't been before. One of the things, for example, I mean, I was gonna give Vision Pro, or HMDs, but we're actually, Vision Pro has Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos. But we want to do more in the areas of XR, immersive experiences, maybe ambient computing, and things like that.
I would like to interrupt this program to have one advertisement over here. Golnaz is looking for 2 innovation market analyst interns. Are you still?
No, we are actually hired.
You are actually hired. But I'm sure if you're persistent, she can find something for you.
But we have, for fall, we have 4 intern positions. So.
4 intern positions for fall. So, okay, so that's not that far away. I am particularly intrigued by the fact that you were in the right environment in Microsoft when OpenAI's deal was presented and discussed. That's an important event in our time. Tell us what happened. Tell us as much as you can about how did it start, what was the excitement that it generated, what was the back and forth between OpenAI and Microsoft.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. I was hired into Microsoft Office of CTO in 2021. And so the CTO, who was my boss's boss, Kevin Scott, like it was his mission to make Microsoft #1 AI company in the world. He would always say that. And at the time, there was no relationship yet between OpenAI and Microsoft, but a lot of research was going on in Microsoft Research and all over the company. But then the conversation started with OpenAI, and I remember I went to this, I was like, last minute, I was invited to a meeting, and we were talking with this guy I didn't know, and turns out he was Sam Altman. And later, like, I Googled him, like, when the meeting was going on to. But then so rapidly things started happening. So Microsoft started, first of all, like the whole infrastructure, bringing all the models to Azure, how to optimize. And I would say without all those optimization efforts in Microsoft Research, OpenAI couldn't have scaled ChatGPT at the rate they could. But anyways, my team was focused on creating ideas on how Microsoft can leverage these models across all the products. So anything from gaming, Windows, productivity suite, and maybe even building new products. So I had a team of designers. We were working with different researchers, trying to kind of imagine what Microsoft can do. Then we would go to all these product teams, present some of the ideas. They would kind of start brainstorming what they could do. So then that
built the excitement.
Yeah.
About when was this?
Probably 2022 all the way to until I left in 2023.
Just a few months before the whole world got the note that this is going to happen. You also worked at Apple when Provision was being prepped to come to the market, and you had some contribution for that one. I want to ask you, I know Apple is very secret about how and what they do. What do you think about the future of Provision? You're no longer at Apple, so you can tell us.
I actually was part of the Vision Pro just early on about...
Oh, Vision Pro.
Yeah. When we were kind of, again, ideating what the use cases would be, what's the right way of interacting with the device, all the explorations around it. And in fact, when I was there, it was more, the emphasis was more on the AR side. So a lot of pivots happened since I left. So it was actually very interesting to me to watch the launch video and how Apple positioned it to be, which was maybe different from like those early thinkings.
So I am personally not very optimistic about me or other people carrying a goggle around and seeing their significant others in the form of the avatar and trying to relate to them. But who am I to say? But in your opinion, what does it take to innovate in the age of AI and ChatGPT? Because everything is already targeted for AI to be taken over, and all those innovations will be done by AI, in my opinion. So what is your opinion? What do we have to do to innovate?
Yeah, so to me, AI is a material. AI has been around for many years. This new wave of generative AI obviously is new to a lot of people, but it's another material. So I would say the first thing to do is get familiar with that material, know its capabilities and limitations, because whatever you design around it, you have to design not only for the success of the models, but for their failures. I think that would be as important as designing for success. So, yeah. I would say, like, if you're innovating with AI and understand that material well, still the way I would do it, I would always anchor it around a user problem, a human problem. And if you're solving a human problem, using Gen AI or any other tool. If Gen AI is a better tool, more efficient, has better results, that's the right tool.
That is, if Gen AI allows us to do that. With AI becoming a part of almost everything, do you think we're just a few years away from having an AI that can pick out our clothes and tell us if we look good in them? Or should we stick to asking our significant others for now?
I mean, that's very near future that AI can.
Do you think that is going to happen? Now, the other thing is regarding the audience over here, what do you suggest for the entrepreneurs to learn and focus on in order to, you partially answered that, but in order to become successful in the future, given that the computing and software industry is going through a sea changes due to generative AI? What is it that we can do besides using it and become familiar with it?
Well, if you're thinking about certain domain or solving certain problem, I think that makes your case stronger. Also, one of the things that worries me is there are tens of thousands of startups in domain now. So you have to think about how you're gonna stand out. Like if hundreds of other startups doing exactly the same thing that you are trying to do, you have to think about how you brand yourself, how to get ahead of the market. And if you already are positioned that you have access to certain market, leverage that, because it's gonna be hard to build that trust with the user if you're one of the hundreds of companies doing the same thing. So branding, marketing is gonna be super important in the future, in my opinion.
In our earlier conversation, you mentioned that there have been about 17,000 NVIDIA-backed ventures. Is that number correct? Is it that many?
That's just AI. So NVIDIA's venture have 17,000 investment in AI-related companies only. Now, like, can't all the...
How do they keep track of it? A very long spreadsheet, yeah, I know, yes. About NVIDIA and other big companies, in literature, particularly in the literature of the left, there's this concept of monopoly capitalism, which essentially says that the bigger companies will buy smaller ones, and eventually we'll end up with one company. And in the past, we've seen shifting tides that dominates, of the dominance from Microsoft to Apple to Amazon, and at some point we thought it's Google, and potentially an AI giant, maybe NVIDIA itself. Which company do you think will be our benevolent overlord in the year 2030? Which one of these would you pick? Dolby?
Well, I hope, I mean, I really like seeing also the open source effort in this field. There's a strong community around open source models and open communities. I hope there's more effort on that so that we don't have overlords in the future.
So you're gonna sabotage that trend that is going to happen. Well, we depend on you for doing that. Being a woman in the industry that is dominated by males, what were the challenges that you faced and the opportunities that you took advantage of? Being an engineer in a technology field that is, generally dominated by men.
I have to think hard about opportunities.
Well, I had to throw it in. There's got to be two sides of a coin.
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It's challenging. Most of the companies have about 10% women in this field. And in a lot of meetings, I remember I was being the only woman. And certain things are not expected of women. Disagreeing, pushing back, just setting the boundaries is not really expected. And this is actually not just my experience. This comes from research where women are expected to be more agreeable, more pleasing, smiling and things like that. And I do feel that sometimes, even now, male colleagues that run big organizations, if I ask for support, they're like, okay, is this within my charter? If not, sorry, we don't have the bandwidth. When I do it, it comes as a shock, and I can feel it. But I think what you have to be louder as a woman and ask for your rights and kind of sometimes fake it till you make it, and just assume if you think you should be at the table, just assume you should be and play that role until they give it to you.
Thank you for that comment. My last question before I open the floor for some questions from you guys is, with your experience, with your extensive experience across top-notch companies, which one has the best coffee? And which one would you say does or will use AI to personalize and make your coffee just the way you like it?
Let me think.
That's the toughest question you've
I think Apple had just because I liked the spaceship cafeteria where you would go and talk to people and run into people. I love that setup. But Microsoft is probably the best position to create the AI base.
AI with a coffee that knows about you. Well, thank you very much, Golnaz.
Sure. Thank you.
We have time for a few questions. And as usual, when you get the microphone, please, which one? Over here, yes. Please say your name and your affiliation. And limit your questions to questions. If you want to make comments or tell us what you do, we should make an opportunity for you to come and sit over here for that.
Hi, thank you so much. Dariush Danishvar. I'm a patent attorney at Wilson Sonsini. I was curious that Dolby seems to be avoiding the medical healthcare space. Do you foresee that to continue, or do you think your big idea is to maybe get into that?
Great question. Actually, it's one of the areas I've been pushing since I joined. They're a bit afraid. I would say Dolby is very risk-averse, and they're afraid of getting into FDA approval business. Although I've seen some work on our IP licensing side, but there is some initiative. Maybe not on diagnosis, but more on in the wellness space, for sure.
Next question is coming from a lady over here.
Hi, I'm Anna Shabano. I have a question. Does Dolby
Did you say your name and affiliation?
Anna Shabano from 8 Orcas.
Thank you.
I want to know if Dolby has any project on quantum computing.
Not that I know of, actually. Sure.
Or if you know it, it's not determined yet because nobody had looked at that project.
True.
Over there. The gentleman in dark red.
Hello, my name is MJ. I'm a software engineer. First of all, thank you for your great chat. And I wanted to ask you that, well, you are clearly an outstanding person. And I wanted to ask, you have been always in the right, I think, industry throughout your resume. And what made you who you are, actually? What do you have any key points that, I don't know if you were, for example, you were always looking for improvement, you were always looking for something specific, but what made you who you are? I'm not sure if I'm...
That's an interesting question. I mean, the way I understood your question, first of all, thanks for your kind comment. I think, as I said, I always liked this intersection between art, creativity, and technology, and I always seek that. So when I went to Apple, for example, I was working on early stage product making, and then through that, I was working with this group of designers, and then I really enjoyed that, and I was working more and more. I got invited to just join the design studio. So for 2 years, I joined a design studio. I was the only non-designer. So I learned about, you know, that process that I really loved and I use for my work on everyday basis. But that kind of put me on this like kind of a non-linear trajectory. So I always try to either join a company or join a team which is at this intersection of art and technology. I think that's why I joined Dolby out of other companies.
And the last question goes to the gentleman over here.
Yeah, hi, Golnaz John.
Hi.
I am Sasan Mirazi. I am a data analyst with the State of California Department of Public Health. And so the way I see Dolby is just building sound system, whether on a small scale or larger, like movie theater stuff. And then you were talking about how to use AI in Dolby. And I just wanted to ask you, like, give us some examples. Like, let's say you use those AI applications and then you build a product, what that product could be. Like, because right now, if it is like, for example, examples I can think of, if it is like text to speech, like we have perfect product from 11 Labs. If it is text to music, then there are applications such as Udio that just do a perfect job. You just provide the lyrics, and then it makes the music based on those lyrics. So my question is, when Dolby get this all done and right, how does it look like? Or what are the examples of AI applications that Dolby is looking for?
Yeah, so Dolby is not just audio. Since I would say 15 years ago, they have Dolby Vision, which is basically high dynamic range in, as I said, in almost every TV, in your phones, in your monitors. Almost all computer monitors have Dolby Vision. If you guys have iPhone and capture a video, if you swipe up, you can see the Apple iPhone video is called Dolby Capture. So there's a lot of Dolby technologies maybe you haven't been exposed to, but it's like in different devices. So yeah, like if you're at the intersection of creativity and consumer, we can create all kinds of creativity tools. We can create all kinds of new experiences. Because 11 Labs is a good example. It creates maybe generative sound, but that's a tech demo, yeah? How do you create a product around it? How do you package it? Maybe how do you, just working with all the sound designers and musicians, we understand what kind of control knobs they need, what kind of maybe tools they need, and we're well positioned to build those. I'm not saying those are the only things, but you know, another example is AR, VR. Can we go, a lot of the content right now is either CG or stereo capture. Can you go beyond that? It makes a lot of people nauseous when they move their heads. But what if we come up with a new format and a new way of content that lets you move in that space? And these are like some examples, but
I'm sure there are many more questions. Golnaz will be available after the session, so you can come and ask direct questions from her. On behalf of Plug and Play, the AmidiGroup, the Persian Tech Network, and the Iranian community, I would like to thank you very much for making the time and coming over here.
thank you so much, Saeed John.